Time for sound design. In today's video, I want to talk about microsampling. So I want to talk about this technique of taking a tiny sample from existing music and using that in a creative way in your own music. And I know this is 100% illegal technique, so don't get too excited. But the idea is to take a very small portion of a track. I'm not going to take a loop or a riff or a phrase, but just one note basically, and create an instrument from that and use that instrument in a track full with other instruments, samples, drum sounds. So in a way that the final result is the sample might be recognizable, but it is part of a larger collage and a larger piece of music. So the record that I recently picked up is Indio's Flutes from Los Calchaquis, if I pronounce that correctly. So it's this record from 1975. It's a Latin folk record full with pan flutes and reed instruments from different South American countries. And on one of the tracks, at the beginning of the track, I will just play you the sample. There's at least one open note that I've used. So it's side A, track number 5. And then right at the beginning, it starts like this. So let's go to Ableton. I'll show you what part I actually picked out of this sample. Here on track 6 is the original sample that I recorded from the vinyl. And if you look at the, you can hear it, but also if you look at the waveform, you see that there's the left and the right channel are quite different. And that is actually a good thing. So when I play it again, the part that I took is the second note here, and then on the right channel. So what I did is I used a utility device and put it on right. So that means that you only hear the right channel now. Of course, there's a little bit of spill. So on the right channel, you still hear a little bit from the microphone that is panned to the left. Yeah, and what I did with this one note, so it's the second note on the right channel, I put it into sampler and I tuned it so that I can use it as an instrument. So let's go to sampler and I'll show you how that looks like. So here on track 7, I have a sampler device with the sample. I use the utility to only hear the right channel. And then if you zoom in here, I use the second note. I put the envelope at release at 500, attack at of 1. So to make sure there's no click in the sample. And then I tuned it. So the note on the record is an E. So I put it on E and then detune to -40. So now when I play a C, you actually hear a C. It's not a loop sample, it's just a one shot. So it plays it once and that's it. And because it's a very short note, you don't need a long release time because there's nothing to play after that. In terms of effects processing, I did a low cut of 100 Hertz just to cut off any kind of rumble from the vinyl record. And then I added a moderate reverb, just a standard reverb in Ableton. The reverb I mainly use to create a little bit more of a tail, otherwise the note is very short. And then in terms of melody, this song is at 121 BPM written in D minor. And I didn't want to make the main melody only of this flute sample. I wanted to combine it with a synthesizer. So I have a drift synthesizer that both the drift synthesizer and this sampled flute instrument, they kind of play the main melody, and then there's chords and bass and other elements behind that as well. So let me go quickly through some of the different layers to show you how I incorporated this sampled flute instrument in my electronic track. At the end of this video, I will play the entire track. So here on track 5, I have the drift synthesizer. So together with the flute, it sounds like this. And then together with a sub bass. Then I have a sampled funk guitar, little hit. And then I have chords from the drift synthesizer and a sampled instrument playing single notes. So all the melodic elements together sounds like this. And then of course there's a whole bunch of drums and percussion here. So playing this part in its totality, it sounds like this. And then this is part of a larger arrangement with different parts. But as you can see here, it's the 2-var variation here is where the flute sample is. So it comes back several times and then there's a whole in-between section, but then in the end it comes back again. So yeah, using this tiny note from a record, and the note is less than a second, so it's a really short note, but combining it with a synthesizer to form the main melodic element of this track. Basically, that's what I did. And that's really what I wanted to show you with this video, how this idea of micro sampling can really give you interesting results if you look at records or other sources and you really zoom into a track and take a tiny note or a squeak or some kind of vocal breath or something. And using these really tiny sounds, you can really build up a collage of different sounds. Yeah, really getting away from this idea of that sampling always needs to be a loop or a riff and recognizable. But you can take one note and be very creative with that one note. As promised, I will play now the entire track. I will show you the Ableton session while the track is playing, so you can follow along what comes in, what goes out of this track. There's much more layers in this track that I haven't discussed, but I really want to focus on the flute sample. I will link down the record that I used as well. If you want to check out this record, it's great music. There's a lot of open sounds on here that you can sample if you're into that. If you're into sampling, I made another video, 6 levels of sampling, where I talk about different ways you can sample music. I will link that video in the description as well. As always, keep making music. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.